here for you. You know, it's great that I've had fun and done a lot of cool things, and what that does is it just means that I get more opportunities to share with you how we got to a lot of those places. When we started doing these, we really didn't know who was going to show up and if anybody was going to show up, because this town is full of people that will give you information. What we found that this town was short of was people that will give you honest information. And I'm not saying that people are actually out there just lying to try to take anything. A lot of people just don't know any better, is what I learned. There's a lot of people that know one way of doing things, and that way has always been you record a great record and you get it to radio. Unfortunately, the times have changed where there's not as many opportunities at radio, so does that mean that all these great artists should just give up? And the answer is no. You know, the opportunities have never been more readily available to get your music in front of an audience, which is what I get excited about. Don't mention Taylor, and a lot of you that know my story know this. When Taylor and I started, we only had MySpace. Facebook wasn't out for everyone yet. YouTube had just started. Twitter, who knows where Twitter was? It was just kind of in its own little place. And someone asked me a question the other day. They said, well, you know, you always talk about giving away music and sharing your music and sharing your downloads. They're like, did Taylor give away her music or her downloads? And I said, no, because she didn't have any. Well, did she give away, you know, tickets to shows? No, because she didn't have any. What she had was herself. And that's what she gave away. And that's what I learned from that, was the most important thing a fan wants is you. Your music's secondary a lot of the times. And I know that's tough, especially for the songwriters. But what a fan, a true music fan, wants is direct access to you. So I have built programs and done everything I can for, as I like to call it, artist-to-fan engagement. Figuring out ways to get you to build a relationship so you know as much about the fans as you do about your friends, their buying habits, what they're into, what they're not into. We wanted to make sure that we could give you the opportunity to succeed without having to be at the mercy of radio, without having to be at the mercy of a major label. So those are the things that we talk about a lot here. I know there's a lot of first-timers. How many first-timers? That's awesome. I mean, that is awesome. There is a pad of paper going around. If you give me your name and your email, at the end we're going to give away some stuff. So I want to make sure that we have a way of contacting you and letting you know that. So for all the first-timers that are here, let me see a hand. Who are the artists? Okay. For the first-timers. Managers. Management side. Production. Okay. Writers. Just songwriters. Okay. Bus drivers. Anybody that's just kind of a lover of music and just kind of scoping it out, checking to see what it's about. That's me. I was that guy that wasn't talented enough to sing or play, and I definitely didn't want people telling me how I had to look and how much I had to weigh and all that stuff. You artists, I admire the hell out of you. It's I always teach people, I say everything we love about artists is what we hate about artists, but we need the artists. With them, we don't have anything. So what we're going to do is, if you leave here, if you have any question, anything whatsoever about the music business, I will do my best to answer it. I will do my best to help guide you to a place to get the answer if I don't. And then at the end, what we're going to do is you're going to tell me the type of person you would like me to bring as a guest next month, and I'll bring that person. But I thought that we wanted to maybe do a little house cleaning. We had an idea that there might be some new folks here. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the internet and, you know, ways that you can get your music in front of people and things like that. Is there anybody that came here going, if I get the chance to ask this question, I'm going to fill in the blank? Anybody here have a question that's just been burning them up, maybe since the last time we saw each other, just maybe something you don't understand? Now here's the thing, there are no dumb questions. Okay, so just answer, because somebody else is probably thinking it. Yes, ma'am, my writer.
The last time that I was here, which was the first time in December, we talked a little bit about publishing, and if you can, to keep your publishing rights.
Yes.
I was talking with a friend who has a song that he hasn't used, or hasn't used for like 6 years, and somebody that he wrote it with, though, wrote with Sony, so they own a portion of the rights. Is there, and because I am an author, a book author, is there a way that you can write it into a contract that the rights revert back to you if the song hasn't been used, or these publishing
Yes, there is. Yeah, yeah, you definitely can. And a good attorney will have that for you anyway, because a lot of times when you're new to town, there's not a lot of people that are going to give you co-pub deals. And what that means is that, let me say this, songs are split up, I call it, into hundreds and hundreds. So you've got this side of the song that the publishers all own and they divvy up their pot. Then you got the writer's side. As a writer, you always get your portion. The publishing side is what goes back to pay the publishers for the advances, the demos, and all the costs and things that they've gone in with you. Most people don't get a co-pub deal, so that means that the publisher continues to collect 100% of the publishing part of that pie that comes in until you're recouped. Now what you want to do is a lot of times you're going to show up, and you're going to show up with what's called a Schedule A. You're going to say, here's these songs that I've written, that I have, and I want to offer them to you as a Schedule A, so you'll go out and start working some music and things like that. But what I want is if they have not been worked or anything, get a license or a sync or whatever, you want the publishing and everything to revert back to you at a certain period of time. The reason that I tell people to hold on to their publishing, if you're an artist, keep your publishing as long as you possibly can. If you're a songwriter, go find a publishing deal if you don't have the means to pitch your music, to try to get your music licensed for, collections or anything like that. The administration's a songwriter, everyone's wanting to get. But for the artist, if you're not going to pitch your songs to somebody, why would you give away half your publishing or any of your publishing so that it could just sit around when it's probably going to go on your record? So if you don't need the revenue to come in, because right now, it's really hard for established people that have had a hit song to get more than $1,800 or $18,000 a year for a publishing deal. $24,000 a year. 30, there's not a lot of it. So it's like, unless you absolutely need it, and those who usually absolutely need it, the publishers aren't really interested in you because you've never had a hit, or you didn't manage your money well enough in the first place from the last hit that you had. So it's kind of a catch-22. So if you're an artist, hold on to it as long as you can. There's companies right now that will license song by song. Send Records, for example, Jay Frank, who used to be at CMT and at Yahoo Music, his business model is based upon you giving him the license and the masters to 6 songs, and he'll go exploit the heck out of them for you. That's what your record deal is with Send. He goes to it's back about the music again. So if you've got it assigned here and you've got it assigned there, there might not be an opportunity for you to be able to take advantage of those opportunities. If you get called up, to be in a movie or something and you've got to track down, there's a lot of advantages to owning your own music. So hold on to it as long as you can. And like I said, if you do get the opportunity to write those deals, make sure there's a reversion clause in there. And usually you can get it down to like 3 years because the cycles for things, especially movies and TVs and films, can take a little longer than just the radio side of things. Next question. Jason, am I leaving on? Anybody else have a question? If not, I definitely got a couple things we can talk about tonight. You have a question? Come on. Okay. Okay.
That's a real life question, maybe.
I'll give you a real live answer.
When somebody's like, it's a TV film thing, somebody's like, well, an administrative publisher told me, so we can negotiate the license fee. What's the meaning of that?
Basically, there's a lot of licensing negotiation that have been taken away since American Idol and some of these stations. It used to be he could go in and negotiate and say, hey, I want to use Dave's song in a film and I'm willing to pay him $10,000, and then they negotiate that and they're going to say, okay, it's for this amount of time and so on and so forth. Nowadays, what happens if they come up, because all these singing shows are using your music now, there is a flat rate that everybody has to pay. It's really screwed the business in a lot of areas. It's like American Idol says we'll only pay $1,500 for the use, and it's the same all across the board. What's that? No, that's just what they pay for them to use that song that night. If your song plays on American Idol, it used to be that you could get, the royalties are huge. It was like, oh my gosh, I got my song on TV. Well, then when all these television shows started relying on music, they said, great, you don't want your song on TV? We're not going to do it on TV, but if you do, we'll give you X amount of dollars, and everybody started taking it. But if you don't, the only time you want to pay somebody to do something in anything, whether it be licensing or collecting, is if you don't have the ability to do it yourself thoroughly.
Oh, I'm not
So.
paying them, I was just curious. So I asked him, I said, well, the licensing person, anyway, it's a two-ended question.
No, keep going, because there's other people here that I trust that can help answer on this too.
I have like a licensing person that's trying to get my songs, some of my songs in ads.
Yep.
And then have this TuneCore that administrates my past album catalog. And the TuneCore is like, we can negotiate the license. And then like, I said, okay, I'm going to send you the contract that I signed with her on my own. And he's like, well, we can't give you advice on this contract. So I said, what you're trying to do anyway?
Well, they're